Hello, hello. Hi, Kathy. Just gonna show the fabric postcards, I reckon. Teresa wanted me to make one completely by hand sewing. So that's what my plan is. And I'm on a little bit early. And I've got this here is something Scott and I made a bunch of these. We made one for me. Well, I actually have two. But it's just a piece of plywood covered in batting and then covered with canvas. And then the back has a piece of felt to protect any table I use on it. And it's just a portable ironing station. And I got my little iron out. And the only reason I pulled these out is to show to kind of iron your background. If it's wrinkled, iron it out a little bit. It doesn't matter if it has stains on it because you're not going to see it. So you just iron that out. I don't know that I'll need the iron for the smaller pieces, but that's it. And now another thing, this is a quick product review. This iron right here, don't buy it. It's a Sharper Image. Okay, Sharper Image iron off of Amazon. Don't buy this because, get this, this is where you fill the water up. And it's just a little plasticky thing here. I'm not putting water in mine anymore because it's hard to get this back in. All right. And then what do you do when you're not using your iron? You don't leave it down on the table, right? It'll burn a hole. You stand it up like this. Guess what happens to all that water you just put in there? Yep, all over your ironing board. So Sharper Image, your water fill needs to be on this end, not the back end. So that's the first negative review I think I've ever given. But I'm using it because it's what I have. Hi, Christopher. So I'm going to move this out of the way, the iron, because I really don't think we're going to use it anymore and it'll just be in the way. So I'm going to unplug it and set it over on my sewing desk. So let's talk about sizes of postcards. USPS says postcards are 3.5 by 5, no smaller than that, 3.5 inches by 5 inches, and you can go as large as 4 by 6. I just roughly snipped and tore a piece. I'm going to set my ironing thing down here. And I can't remember what I roughly tore. I think it was about 6 inches this way. And then about 4.25 this way. So I'm a little larger, but you can always trim it down. All right. So the first thing we're going to put on, you got to decide what kind of background you want, because we're going to put a couple houses on here. So I've got this blue that looks real pretty, and it looks like it's got clouds on it. And I'm going to stitch it on first. And I forgot to get some pins. Hang on. Luckily, I don't have far to go. Everything's right here close. So I'm just going to put a couple pins in just to hold it in place. And then you can use any stitches that Carol has shown us on Saturday mornings, okay? And you can use embroidery floss, you can use regular sewing thread, whatever you have to stitch these together. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. So this is just, I think this is just plain sewing thread. And I'm going to let it be doubled. So I'll have 2 strands. I'll match up my ends. It's already threaded on a needle. I'm using what I had already put together. I do have my embroidery floss here. And keep an eye out at the thrift store, because a lot of times you'll find this kind of thing in the thrift store. So I do have a roast in the oven. So in about 50 minutes. If the timer goes off, I'll have to run and pull it out the oven. And I just came up from the back. Don't worry about what the back looks like because you attach this to paper eventually. And then just stitch this on any way you want. I'm just going to use a running stitch. And that's just insert your needle. And then I don't work the needle, I work the fabric and just go back and forth. Of course, mind that you don't, stab yourself in the finger. And I'm just working it back and forth a few times. I've got a fairly long needle here, and then I just pull it up, and then you just kind of smooth it out so it's taut but not tight. And then you start again. And the more times you do this back and forth just on the needle, the straighter your line of stitches will be. Instead of, if you tried to just go down through the fabric and then poke back up, that takes longer and you're less likely to keep a straight line. Now, if you don't want straight lines, you can stitch any which way you want. You just want to attach this blue piece to the white piece. Your notification didn't go off. Well, I announced it in Mary's group and in my group. I don't know. YouTube's a little on again, off again, but who knows? Maybe they're working on something new and great. We just never know. And I want to thank everybody that's doing the card shower for my mom and has been asking about Scott's mom. Scott's mom's pretty rough around the edges. She's going back today for an echocardiogram, I think. And but she's a pretty tough 94-year-old lady, man. Her comment was, she said the wall didn't even dent. She said, I didn't even dent the wall. But Scott's sister is up visiting and taking her to the doctor. And now see, when you reach the end of the white fabric, you don't have to go any further. We'll probably trim some of this away in the end. And it won't matter if you cut some of your stitches off because it'll make its way through the mail. I'm just going to start back in the other direction. And you have to manipulate your fabric, turn it back and forth. And that's why this is called slow stitching. And I just fill this up with rows of blue. And the reason I do that is I'm going to mail mine just like this. And if they're too far apart, I'm afraid they'll get caught in the machine or whatever. So that's why I'm putting these pretty close together. But if you wanted to draw hearts or something in your sky, you could stitch around those or any shape you want. You can do running stitches for a while and then switch to a different stitch. But remember, you always want to be taut but not tight. Because when you get too tight, then the fabric bends and doesn't come back. Now see, I've pulled this too tight where I turned. I'll pull it back a little bit. There we go. Yes, it is. And when you start trying to hurry with a needle, what generally happens is it ends up sticking you. And the stitches aren't going to be exactly even. But that's what makes it slow stitching. If you wanted to do like a sampler stitch, you could do that across here like do 2 rows of running stitch and then switch to do 2 rows of something else like cross stitch or anything, any way you want to make your background interesting, go for it. No snow here. Well, there comes the neighbor. They took the fence back down. The people came and just cut it at the posts and took the panels away. So somebody probably is going to get a real good deal on a fence. The only thing he was unhappy about with is they didn't put nails in every cross member. Like you had the upright post and then they had 3 cross members in between each upright. And they didn't put nails in every board on every row. And that's what got him upset. And all they would have to have done is brought the air gun back out and popped some nails in, and he probably would have been fine. But he's young. He's young. And, when you get older, you're a little bit more understanding, and you have to take into account the cost of materials is also part of why it cost him so much and that kind of thing. So we did 2 rows like that. Now if we wanted to do a row of something else in different shade, I'm going to carry this to the back side so I can put a knot on the back. Or if you want the knots on the front, it's all up to you. If you want to give it a little bit more character, I just put the needle under a single stitch on the back, and then I just wrap the thread like 2 or 3 times. And then if you're real careful, you can go between the layers of fabric and bury that thread, which I'm having trouble doing for some reason. Did I go all the way through? Nope, that'll work. I wanted to do this while it was still daylight so I can see. All right, we're going to just keep going until I get this blue piece all stitched down. And I'm going to switch to a different blue. But you don't have to. And if you wanted to do all these lines this way and then come back and do a grid this other way, it's your piece. You do it the way you want to do. No right or wrong, just your way, my way. No biggie. See, this is a bag of floss I got at the thrift store. You don't have to go out and buy brand new stuff if you don't want to. It really is, in slow stitching, it's really not going to matter if you know the numbers or not. I think Carol mentioned that the other day, that she wasn't sure about the numbers on something. Now I want to keep a nice long length of this, so I'm going to pull 2 strands out of here. The DMC floss comes 6 strands, so I'm just going to pull 2 out. And if you pull them one at a time, they come out so much easier than if you try to pull the 2 together. And match them up. So I can't stay on long because I've got the dog in the crate right now so the cats can eat. And then when I put their dishes back down, pick their dishes up. Hi, Lisa. I couldn't remember if anybody's on Monday, but with our sign up for the postcard swap for the fabric postcards is going to end basically the 16th to 17th. I'd like to have everybody signed up that wants to by the 16th, and everybody have your postcards ready to be mailed no later than the weekend. Okay, that way everybody will get theirs about the same time. That's why I said go ahead and make your cards up. And if you see how, I don't know if people, I just put it on my finger and roll it around, and then I'm rolling it between my fingers and then pull back and it ties a knot. Easy peasy. Hi, Natty. Hi, Kristen. And Teresa, hi Teresa. And Lisa. All right, I'm going to keep going. Now, I'm using 2 strands again, but this time I'm using the DMC floss. And so say you want to do blanket stitch. You don't have to do a blanket stitch over an edge. All you have to do is imagine there's 2 lines here. If you have trouble imagining them, you can actually draw on here real light with a pencil so you can see them. But I'm just trying to get these 2 fabrics stitched together. Oh, it arrived. You're welcome. You're welcome. So you can use your own fingers as measuring devices. Okay. So I know when I'm sewing clothes and it calls for a 5/8 inch seam, my thumbnail is 5/8 of an inch wide. If you want a 1/2 an inch, that's about the width of your pinky. Just look at your nails. If you wanted to actually measure this out, you could. Just find something or some way to eyeball the distance. So say I can pretty much eyeball about a 1/4 of an inch and then try to do a 1/4 inch over and a 1/4 inch back. Make a little box corner here with the needle and the thread. And then if you do that each time, you'll have a nice even row. It does take practice, and that's what we're here to do today. And then the next one, you eyeball that 1/4 inch here, insert your needle, come up about the 1/4 inch again, and make another little box corner with the thread. The thread always goes around the needle. All right, and so we're just going to keep doing that. I'm going to close this blind so we're not getting so much outdoor light, so you can see maybe a little better. I don't know if you can hear the hammering, but another neighbor's getting a new roof. So just kind of eyeball 1/4 of an inch. Once you start hand sewing, you get really good at eyeballing stuff. It's just practice. And I've been sewing since the age of 9. So, yeah. Now, I might not keep going in a straight row this way. I'm not worried about that. I'm just doing a decorative stitch in my sky. So any stitches that you've learned with Carol or anybody else online, feel free to use those. If you want to do a ways with one stitch and then switch to another, you can. All right, so if we go that far with that and then we switch to doing, let's do a chain stitch, okay? It's kind of like the blanket stitch, but you're going to catch your loop differently. Let me get this here so we can see. All right, that's got a loop stuck in it. So if you just drop your needle and let the thread unspin. All right, I'm going to move this pin over here out of my way. All right. So you have your thread here. We're going to insert our needle where the thread came out in our blanket stitch and come over about a 1/4 of an inch, going in the same direction as where the thread used to wrap around. And then just make a loop around it and draw up. And then we could do that again. Have a loop up here that you can hold with your other thumb. Go inside the loop where you came out of the fabric. And then do about a 1/4 of an inch. Come out of the fabric. Remembering to let that loop come around. And make the chain loop, chain ring, see? We've switched from blanket stitch to a chain stitch. It's really hard to get this where you guys can see it and where I can still see it. Let me see if I can move you over here. Maybe this will be better because then I can see it and you can see it. So I'm going into the fabric where I just came out, come over a little ways, and see how I've just got that loop there. All right. And now if I want to, we could switch back to blanket stitch. So you choose your stitches that you want to do. And Carol's teaching some good ones, and there's all kinds of other people. If you just look up embroidery stitches, there's a bunch of people to help you learn them. So don't be afraid to mix it up when you're doing something like this. It's hard to get back straight once you start doing a different method, but you can get that under control too with practice. Oh, it's caught. The end of my thread twisted on itself. There we go. I think I can get it to pull through now. That's better. It is. Remember, taunt, not tight. And see, mine's all kind of wonky there, but it'll improve the more you do it. So let's do some more of the chain stitches. Might need to let this fall and get all the twists out of it. Because as you're twisting your fabric around too, you put a twist in the thread. Whether you know it or not, you do. Because you end up going in a different direction. If your pins start getting in your way that are holding the fabric in place, just move them. Sometimes those clips are fun to use too. All right, and you go back in where you came out, inside that loop. Now, if you wanted to stitch a lot of detail, you could add mountains in your background. Anything that we've learned with Carol, just kind of lightly draw it on with your pencil, or go ahead and paint it and then just highlight with your stitches. That's entirely up to you. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. I try to figure a pattern and then repeat it so that it looks like it's, meant to be. I don't know if I got the same number. I just eyeballed the other blanket stitch things. Now, if you wanted to add birds to your sky, you could do the ones that my mother always called eyebrow birds. Where it's just two humps. I don't know what that's called. Carol maybe could tell us, but my mom always called them the eyebrow birds. She'd put them in her paintings. I wish I lived closer because Mama's not doing the art that she needs to that really helps her. She needs a motivator to get her going. All right, how close am I to the end? Pretty close, so I'm not going to bother with doing any more of the chain stitch. But see, just practice use this as a way to practice some new stitches. Why not? Make it interesting. Now, on the last blanket stitch, if you go in just behind where you came out on the outside of the loop and carry it to the back, then it'll look nice and square like that. What did Carol say? Oh. All right. Now you can knot it off and switch to another color if you want to. I think I will. But you don't have to. You could do all of this stitching. Basically, this is to hold the two pieces together and to add interest to your piece. You can do as much or as little as you want. If you think about it, when we add the houses, you could just stitch around the edge. Okay, you could just go around the edge of the blue so it's stitched all the way around, and then add your houses, and then add some stitching to the sky if you want to. I'd like to switch back to a light blue now, I think. Kathy, I don't know. I don't know. I wish that she would, but it's hard to get her away from there. And we're all kind of talking to her about it, that it's nice that they live out in the country, but it would be nicer if they could come and visit, the both of them come and stay. But as it is right now, they have animals and things that have to be cared for. And yeah, it just makes it hard to get away. All right, this isn't not a very big piece of thread, but I'm thinking it's enough to get me across. And it's in a different blue. So I'm just going to do some more running stitches coming up from the back. Running stitches are the quickest because you just go in and out, in and out, in and out. Although back stitches are pretty quick too. It's just you have to, make sure your line looks straight on the front. It's just faster this way. Everything improves with practice. If you wanted to do spirals across your sky, you could do them with a running stitch, a back stitch, a split stitch, anything that you can go in a line with, you can make it go around too. If you wanted to just stitch over, see what I could have done? See how the swirly hearts are on here? I could have just stitched on those lines. Wouldn't that have looked cool? Note to self, do that next time. That would take some time though, because there's a lot of those. But it would look really cool. And the stitching would be raised. It would add texture to your background. Yeah. The problem is Mama doesn't have anybody coming over to do stuff with her, and that kind of thing. So that's our concern, is that she's lonely, and she starts dwelling on things, that there's nothing she can do about it, but she dwells on them, and then she gets upset. And that's where just somebody coming over every once in a while would be good. Robin was going to go do a clay pickup because she's out of clay. My sister's a potter, for anybody that doesn't know. Robin is a potter. And so she was going to drag Mom to the clay place today. Robin made me some clay fairy doors to paint and install around in the yard or whatever. And a reminder, when the timer goes off, I'll have to run and take my pork roast out of the oven. We had such a good time last night with the family and all of us sitting and laughing and having a good time. It was really good. We kind of just did the sisters that are here, we all got together with husbands. My sister Robin's husband wasn't feeling well, so he didn't come, but Rhonda's husband came and they gave me the funniest card. I posted it in my group. It's hilarious. I might have to show it on here so everybody that's not in my Facebook group can see it. It's pretty funny. And then I put the balloons on the dog, and when we went outside, she was walking around and I wasn't paying attention and she walked under something and I lost one of my birthday balloons up into the sky. So I hope it lands on somebody that's having a birthday. All right, I don't think I have enough really to tie a knot, so let's see if I can just catch it enough to then go through this loop here and knot it that way. And then I'm just going to catch my thread under some of my stitches. And you don't have to trim these, but I did, just like that. All right, so now we need some more blue. I had some more of the dark blue here. I'll get the card real quick so everybody else can see it. Oh, and she gave me a gift card and it burned a hole in my wallet, so I went and spent it. I bought 4 yards of 4 different whites for my quilting stash, and then I got 2 fabrics for Project Dress a Girl. So I got those. I posted pictures of those on Facebook too. Let me get this threaded. I don't want to knock the needle on the floor. All right, so here's the card. My cat wrote you a poem for your birthday. Did you really think there was going to be a poem in here from a cat? We don't even own a cat. What the hell is wrong with you? Happy birthday. I thought it was hilarious, but what the hell is wrong with you? Anyway, my sister is a dog person, and that's what they have. They have dogs. They don't have kids. They have dogs. But they've got 2 adorable dogs, Doc and Yona. Yona is Indian for bear. And when Yona was little, they thought she was going to be real furry and fuzzy because she was as a puppy, but she's not. It was funny. All right, so let's stitch again. Let's see. Let's see here. So if you go in and then come back out about a 1/4 inch away, and then loop back to where you came out here and go in there, that's back stitch. And if you go part way into the stitch and split the 2 threads, that's a split stitch. I'm probably going too far away, but and see this, you can just turn it a little bit and change your direction. probably got enough stitches in here. I don't need the pins anymore. Then I'd be less likely to stab myself. So this is just slow stitching. It's slow. That's why I was like, are you sure you want me to just sit and stitch? And Teresa says, yes. So I said, okay. I'm just changing direction by changing the angle of where I come out. So I go in where I went down in the fabric before, go back in there again, but then I come out at a different angle. And if you want to do a kind of a circle in it, you can do that. As you're doing the curve, sometimes you'll make your stitches closer together. Bye, Lisa. And by coming closer together, you can make a turn. I'm going to go right up over the stitches from the last row. Uh-oh. There we go. Sometimes you can catch those where it wraps up on itself. If you just get under it with your pin and flick it a little bit, it'll come uncoiled on itself. Because if you continue to pull, it'll just make a knot. Oh, thanks, Kathy. My son, Greg, went down to Charleston yesterday to attend a wake for a very young woman. She was 28. She fell down a flight of stairs, I guess, leaving for work, and she passed away from falling down the stairs. So he went down for that. It's pretty bad when your children are losing people they know like that. And then he had to be back here for an eye appointment today. You see how I'm taking the stitches, and sometimes they're a little bit longer, and then sometimes I make a short stitch just to get that curve in the thread. Now, if you wanted to do like, what's the painting where the swirls are in the sky, you could do that with your thread. Night Sky, I think is the name of that piece. You can hear my table creaking under me. See? And then if I come in here and I just pop up on the side of this one over here, see, now I've got like a loop there, and I've got a new place to start. So now I can go in a different direction if I want to. These could be wind little swirls, or it could be waves coming up from an ocean. You just have to use your imagination. Carol will tell you that. Use your imagination. And my grandmother had jeans that she patched and patched and patched. And I was just sitting here thinking today, I wish I had my grandma's jeans just to stitch in the package, all the patches for her. She would have thought I'd lost my mind, but they would have been the coolest grandma jeans ever. Greg's out taking photographs. This is something. My kid loves film photography. He's 35. He loves film photography. And all these young people are around here and they tell him, haven't you heard of digital? And Greg's like, yeah, I have, but film is cooler. I have 2 threads together here for this that I'm working on right now. And this one and the blanket and chain stitch were all DMC floss. And then these 2 strands here, I think was just regular sewing thread, like you would sew on the sewing machine with, which it works great for satin stitch embroidery. Like I did my cardinal on my scroll. I did that all with the just regular sewing thread, which I was amazed. When Carol said you could just use regular sewing thread, I was like, really? Yes, really. And then I'm going to come out back to this edge, the outside of it, preferably, and end that swirl. So they don't even have to be, fancy schmancy. So you get the idea. That's how I'm going to do my sky. I'm just going to take this to the back. And I'll pin this up here. I'll get another pin. All right. So say our sky is done. We've stitched all we're going to. Then you get another strip of fabric and you just put that down. And I've actually found this piece that looks like grass. And then I just do the same thing and stitch it all down. And once all of the background is stitched, that's when I pull out the little bitty scraps and I make those funky houses. So I'm going to do some stitching on the green and we'll see where the time is. And I put my postcard up. Howard, it's okay, honey. Now, I'm going to keep stitching for a while. As long as you guys want to hang out, I'll keep stitching. But I was just going to take a moment and rest my hand and show you that this is the postcard I made. And I hand stitched the 2 pieces, the blue and the green on here. And then everything else I put on with the sewing machine. But you don't have to. You can do all of the stitching by hand. Okay. I've got some, for the tree trunks, I actually used lace. And if you wanted to make your house Victorian, you could use lace along that roof. And wouldn't that be pretty? So you make up your funky little houses. They're meant to be quirky houses, right? And then after I got the houses sewn on, then I decided I wanted to have kind of a border around it on a piece of cardstock just to make this pop, and then to get to the standard size. Let let me see what I ended up with. I think I ended up, it's about 3 3/4. So I'm within the 4-inch width, and then it is 5.5. So I'm somewhere between 3.5 by 5 and the 4 by 6. So I'm still within a range that they'll let it come through. And I have sent postcards out in different sizes. You just don't want to go any smaller than 3.5 by 5, no larger than 4 by 6, and try to keep it thin. So I would not add things like buttons and things. I know Journey has though. And then I've got that sewn onto the black. Then I sewed a piece of the white on with my sewing machine. This is all sewn on. Now, if you wanted to glue the paper, you could on here. But I like the idea. And then I hand stamped this and that, and I drew this line. This here is a piece of ribbon. Just like from Christmas, you know how they have the gold ribbon? That's just a tiny piece of ribbon. That's all it is. So you don't have to use, anything too expensive. It's just scraps. And then the trees are just circles. And then I just went around. So say you wanted to do one all by hand, you could do a spiral just like I've been doing here, but have it cover the entire tree. Or if you wanted to stitch in a few branches here and there on that tree, I would not keep them continuous from the trunk out. I would just have like, here's a branch, and then maybe stitch a branch over here. And then, just like pretend you're looking at a tree. You just see the branches, a hint of the branches here and there, right? So you could do that. I've also made trees with yo-yos, but not on postcards. I've done that on cards. You know what I'm saying? You can just make a yo-yo and then stick it on there and stitch it on. The path is nothing but a piece of fabric, just kind of higgity-piggity cut out. I don't worry about the edges. See the edges are here. You can see my base fabric is under there. So we'll just keep stitching. I'm going to get another one. I like to do the little, I don't know what stitch it's called. Looks like a chicken's foot, the 3 stitches. I like to do that on the grass. And when you add your grass on here, you might want to consider having it come up above your green fabric, have some stitches up above so it goes through both the green and the blue. It'll hold that edge down, and it'll look like it's growing tall. Kathy added some flowers. I'm not sure how you added the flowers, Kathy. Was that ribbon? Or, look at your ribbon. Look at your, all those kind of things that you have that would be like an instant decoration. Like laces are fun too. If you have some that look like fence, you could put a little lace fence. Let's see what I've got here so I can show you what I mean. See if there's a piece here. If not, I have more. Like, see, this could be a fence. You could put this along, and this could be your fence, and then have a house there and a house here. Somebody asked if you had to do houses. You don't have to, I don't guess, but something neighborly, maybe, something like that. You could tuck your lace down in a little ways and have it just in the background like that. And then that way, your grass could come up over your fence edge. So just keep playing with it. That's all. Kathy says her flowers were a trim. Then she slow stitched the stems and leaves with thread. Oh, that's my roast. I'll be right back. I'll leave those right there to give you something to look at. Hang on. That's going to leave a blister. I didn't realize I didn't have the pot holder under the palm of my hand. Set it right on the casserole dish. Oh, this is something else that's fun to use. Some of the string that's kind of gold, you can couch that on, just stitch over this and add it on something as a trim for your houses or that kind of thing. So let's keep working on this. Maybe I will keep stitching on this for just a little bit for the blue. Y'all don't mind. I don't guess. I think I have some more. Am I in here where you guys can see it all? That's okay, Teresa. You just go do what you got to do. The replay will be here. Got my positive thoughts, positive life on my t-shirt today. Let's see here. I'm going back to the little spiral bit so I can finish my sky up, and I just unthreaded my thread. That's always fun when you're starting to get short here. There we go. Flights coming in and going out. There's been a lot of them lately. I guess everybody's getting back into traveling. The plane is like the worst place for shared air. I'm not prepared to do that just yet. I know they claim they sanitize it, but it's all the same air going recirculating. So trying not to think about that kind of travel for a while yet. I might have to get some more of this blue thread out. Has anybody else watched the Andy Warhol Diaries on Netflix? I've been watching it. It's pretty interesting. It's a little racy in a way. If you are, I just don't know how to word it. Shy or taken aback by anything sexual, maybe not the show for you, but I thought it's a very interesting story about his life and how he took time to record it in those last years. And it's quite interesting to watch. And I do enjoy his art. So there's that. Gotcha. Thanks for letting us know, Teresa. Hello. Hey, I'm live. Oh, okay. No, you won't. I'm going to take this to the back here. Tie it off.
I'm glad I clocked out. Oh, called out.
Your eyes are still really dilated. Ooh, they really are dilated.
She thought she missed, but she actually put 2 drops.
Oh.
So
Oh no.
not doing all that well.
Well, just don't go out in the sun anymore till your eyes come down from wide open. He had his eyes examined today because he needs new glasses.
And you remember that Japanese restaurant I liked going to, owned by the Japanese couple in 5 Points? I think they got shut down.
Uh-oh.
They're not from bad food, but it's just they're trying to run all the businesses out of that area.
Oh.
It's sad. They were such a wonderful couple.
Was that the one with the lady that always said hello?
Yep. Made me sad to find out about that.
Well, I'm sorry.
At least Howard was not petty.
Maybe. I don't think this is the same blue. It's not. It's darker. It's this one. Oh, it's Greg, not Scott. But Cheryl says, hi, Greg.
Hi, Cheryl. Love your videos.
Cheryl doesn't do videos.
Well, you do something and I like it.
You're crazy. For anybody that's just watching, this is not my normal. It's not usually slow paced, put it that way. I try to do projects that kind of move along, but I was like, I can do a slow stitch video. Wednesday, we're doing more slow stitching, I guess, because we chose pocket 5, or a random org chose pocket 5, or my Google Assistant, whichever it was. So we're going to be working with fabric. So whatever you have in your pocket 5 that's just bits of fabric, lace, that kind of thing, we'll do a page. Oh, man. I know the whole trick about wrap it around the needle and then fold it in half and do this. I just don't have much luck doing that. So, hello, Mr. Coal Monster. What you doing? Hey. Oh, meow. Mr. Coal Monster. He's coming in here to try to start a fight with Howard. Howard got him good this morning, popped him square in the head. I was like, well, you shouldn't torment Howard. Howard's like, he's not going to do me ugly today. I'm going to get him first. Cats. Catitudes. Running rampant around here. Greg's unloading his car. He went to that wake last night and then decided not to go to the funeral because I told him, I said, you're not going to have much time to get back up here because sometimes the funerals can last a while. And so he said, well, I went to that. I'll come home so I can get to my appointment. So he paid his respects. And I told him, I said, the funeral is usually for more family than, friends and acquaintances. So you went to the part that was important for you to go to. And then today is for the family. I got a really long bit of thread this time. I can hear Piper chirping in the kitchen because she's so happy he's home. when he moves out and takes his cats with him, I'm going to miss him. I'll miss him too, but you know what I'm saying. Ouch. So see, the more practice you get, the better they are. uh, see if I can change directions again. That roast smells good. It's making me salivate. I've got so much cake left, you guys. Even with cutting the recipes in half, so it's basically one cake, I still have so much cake left.
Something really cool happened in Charleston, though.
Yeah.
I got offered a job I wish I could have taken.
Oh.
They're restoring the old shotgun shacks, like the sharecropper shacks.
Uh-huh.
That are kind of scattered all around Charleston.
Yeah.
We're looking for people who know how to do basic woodworking and plumbing. I was like, well, I can do that. And they're like, well, how do you feel about $20 an hour? I was like, that sounds nice. Can you move me down here? Oh, we can't do that. I was like, oh, I would love that job. I know, kind of little treasures.
Well, I'm sure you could get a job like that here in Columbia too. The thing about slow stitching is it's so meditative. I just get into it and then I get quiet, you know. So once I get my design all stuck down and my houses on here and whatever stitches I want to do, I'm going to attempt sewing this to the piece of cardstock and the backing with awkward ouch position here. So you go in where you went in before and then come back out someplace else. I'm thinking about getting a membership, an individual membership to the Riverbanks Zoo so I can do some videos out there because there's so many beautiful things to see, and the garden will be coming alive out there. And if I remember right, I don't know if they've started the programs back up yet or not, but I took a really good gardening several gardening courses through there. I'd love to do that again. Greg's getting himself a shower, it sounds like. That's the bad part about having the pins there holding stuff in place because your thread catches on it. But in time, our Riverbanks Zoo and Gardens, the gardens are on my side of the river, but you can you can walk from one side to the other. There's a bridge that goes over the river, over the, I think it's the Broad River. And then you can walk around the zoo and then go back over. And then they have a shuttle that'll take you from the bridge or from the zoo side back up to the garden side. And there's also a splash park that they put in on the garden side. So in the summer, the kids love to go to the splash park and just, go down the slide and go back up, go down the slide, back up. Now see, when it gets stuck like that, just pull back a little bit because it's usually because your thread is looped on itself. And that's usually a sign that you need to let it just fall free. And see, I'm going to come out somewhere outside this. There we go. Try not to let it roll up on itself. So I could keep going with that. I'm just going to go back in kind of near where I came out and then just out somewhere over here. And I might do a running stitch across just to kind of tack the rest of this down. And then I'm not going to worry about going any farther down because I'll have the grass coming up there. You've not been to the Richmond Zoo? We haven't been in a long time because, you know, when we were in Greenville, we didn't go to the zoo up there or down here. But they have an aquarium at the Riverbank Zoo too, and I love to just go and sit in there. And I think that sounds like it would be fun. It's very peaceful in there. I need to see about getting a new library card because I don't know where my old one is, and it's probably not any good anyway. So because I haven't lived down here, you know, for a while and didn't use the card. So, and then the pandemic, you know, we didn't go to the library then. I'm not real concerned about what this looks like now because it'll be behind my houses. Maybe I'll do one more row across. The thumping might be me thumping the table trying to get this to smooth out. Sorry about that. And if you want it to just all running stitches, that's fine. And remember, when this gets stitched to the card, it'll also be stitched all the way around the edge because you got to stitch your fabric down to the card all the way around your design. All right, now I'm going to take this to the back. He's got some music playing in the bathroom. I can hear it. Trying to figure out which of my threads is hanging back here. That one. Okay. I'm just going to leave a tail that can get caught. Now I'm going to do some green to hold this, the grass in, and I'll just do a kind of the little spiky three stitch little things I like to do that look like chicken feet. I don't know what they are. Oh, bye, Cheryl. Bye, Cheryl. I've been on a while now. Let's see here. Which is which? They wrapped these, whoever wrapped these wrapped them really strange, but there we go. This is like 2 skeins wrapped together. So there's one thread, straighten it back out. And there's the second one. Oh, there's Mina. Hi, Mina. You've probably been here and I just didn't see you. We got hamburgers at Hardee's that were not very good. What is it with everybody switching to those yellow buns or those Hawaiian buns? I hate those things. Switch to whole wheat or something healthy, not that sweetened bread that's no good for you. It's bad for your blood vessels and everything else. Told Scott, said we're going to have to get to where we don't eat out at all because everything's awful. You know what? I bet that's called something else and I'm going to try a different stitch method. No, that won't work. Let's see. Put a knot in this end. Practice your own stitches. Make them up as you go along. Why not? Somebody else must have at one time made them all up. All right. So I'm going to start here in the middle. Just get some stitches in here. Come across here. And then come back down here. So you make a V. Whoops. All right, so I'm going to have like a little V shape. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then I'm going to come up in the middle. And then go back in again. And it's like 3 blades of grass. You know, Charlie Brown grass. Or chicken's feet. I'll show you. It's going to be hard to see with this green. The green on the green. And then come up a ways away from it. So there's the stitch I made. And then I've come up over here so I can do some more of those. So I angle out. This is where I came out. There, you can see where it's out. Angle over from that. Then go twice the distance this way. So you end up like, pretend there's a V comes out already. A V and a V. All right. Then go back in at the base where you came up out of the fabric. Go back in there and then come up right in between the 2 stitches that you just made. And that'll give you your little 3-bladed grass. And on every 1 or 2 here and there across your piece, you could put just a little red French knot and it would look like a little red flower, or you could use yellow. And see, I've got blades of grass growing. I don't know if you can see them or not. My little 3 chicken feet grass, or whatever their proper name is. Turn that pin so it's not jabbing me every time I go in there. All right, so I'm going to go back in over here. The next one I need to come up and do some more on the very edge to hold those two fabrics together. And if one of your blades of grass is longer than the others, guess what? That's how Mother Nature does it too. You're not going to go out in your yard and find every blade of grass the same height. It doesn't work that way. I want to come up right at the edge. So that's all I'm going to do to hold this green down is chicken feet. Vary the widths of your little your V of your chicken foot. Uh-oh, I caught my stitch. There we go. So Carol says you could use a fly stitch for grass or brush. All right. Is that what this is called? I don't know. I just like to do this one for grass. Especially if you've used something like I've got that's already the print is grass. And if you do several different greens, it'll look like there's a bunch of different grasses growing. Like you could pull the greens out of your background and just use those in your piece. I think what my problem's going to be is as the light dims, it's going to get harder to see for me and for y'all. And it's basically just stitching. All right, now I'm going to go back in here and then go down a little bit because I've got those edges are kind of tacked together along there. And more stitches will go on top. So it's not like this is the only thing going to hold this down because, you know, you're going to have the houses. And then if you add lace for a fence or whatever, you're going to have more stuff down here. So you can put these a little farther apart if you wanted to. If you wanted to have them just in groups here and there and then leave a place for the house to go, you could. And then maybe have them have blossoms on them. Make little lazy daisy flowers. You could do little daisies on some, little red dots on others. Or I think, Carol, you showed like little, was it you or was that somebody else? Just little French knots all in a string to make like lavender or whatever, like have a stem and then you just put French knots along it and it looks like lavender. And come out over here because I'm on the edge. And then I'll come back in at the base and back up out there. So this is like 2 leaves and a stem. 2 leaves and a stem, 2 leaves and a stem all over the place. I'm going to pull this out because that's not doing anything now except getting in my way. Yes, they are. French knots are very versatile. My classmate that's a chef, he posted pictures of the most beautiful red currants. And I was like, oh, that's something I miss from New York is my grandmother's currant bushes. I always loved currants. Those dried things that you get in the store, those aren't real. I don't like those. I don't like dried currants. I like them fresh off the bush. They have that little pop and then there's a little tangy flavor. And, and there's nothing like picking your own berries, even blackberries. I don't mind picking. I love to pick berries. I love foraging. We used to have out in the woods near the sap house, there was black caps, and they were basically blackberries that were like this long. They were huge. They were called black caps. A lot of things I miss from living up north, but don't miss the cold and the snow and the ice. I only have to deal with real cold a little bit down here. Oh, I've got to move my leg. It's gone to sleep. Ow, 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 ow. Chat hasn't moved in a while. Everybody must be bored stiff watching me stitch. But this is how I'm going to do this postcard. Your eyes still real big?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, those envelopes that came from me.
Uh-huh.
So I ordered prints.
Yeah.
But they do the same size as the other ones.
Yeah, you got 8x10s, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this picture.
You can show your friends if you'd like. That's some of my artwork.
This is what my son does. He does film photography. This one you're a little blurred, but I think some of that could have been where they blew it up, but it still looks cool. And the fact that it says Merry Christmas behind you was kind of funny. There's Greg's other picture. So aren't those cool looking?
That was with 3200 speed film.
Ah, those are cool.
I think I took these with that camera I was testing out that I have doubles of.
Oh. Is that, there was just one in each envelope?
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't put them all together.
I don't
That
know.
was weird.
I thought you were going to have like several prints done.
Well,
And they would have all come in one envelope. That was, I just thought that was strange.
yeah, because I'd ordered them at the same time. I don't
Yeah,
know why they did that.
I don't know. They're all saying, cool, awesome work.
But these came out really good. I want to do some more coastal photos. I've been trying to figure out how to get access to certain things in Charleston. You're not going to believe it, though. I think I have access to an old coaling station back when they used to put coal in the ships. And I was going to photograph that.
Ah, just make sure you have permission so you don't get the popo called on you.
There is that, too, yeah. What would really be cool is if I could get access to the Navy dockyard where they got some old ships sitting around, but I know they probably wouldn't let me out there.
Yeah.
Not now, anyway. Back when I was in, they'd probably be like, no, go ahead, take pictures.
Mina says Greg's an artist too. He said thank you.
I like to sing.
He's a comedian too. When he was in the Navy, he had the funniest stories. Sorry, I get quiet. It's hard to talk and stitch. No wonder Carol wanted somebody on. But I wasn't very pretty on Sunday morning. The time change about did me in. So there you go. Can you see this little stitches there? They kind of just blend in with the print I chose. But now if I came in with like a dark green and a yellow green and just filled that in, that would be cool looking. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pin some houses on here, and I'll keep stitching on my own. And then on Wednesday, I can show you the finished one, but you get the idea. And then you would just like get a piece of paper. I would say a 4x6 for this one. Whether you choose black or white, that's up to you. The black paper was only added because I had cut this background and then my fabric was too big. That's what happened there. So that's why this is smaller on the back. If you want to just have a piece of white cardstock ready to go and have the postcards stamped on there, I did that with the individual alphabet and just stamped that on myself, and then stamped my Aunt Beck's Creations on here that Mary Hill had gotten me. And then just do your stitching around the outer edge by hand. If you wanted to, you could also just keep in mind whatever you do is going to show on the front. Because say you've got your piece of paper. This is not the paper I'm going to use, but here's the paper. You put it on there. Whatever you do to stitch it on is going to be visible. So if you wanted to just do a blanket stitch around the edge, just cut your paper the same size as this, do your blanket stitch all the way around the edge. That would hold your fabric to it. If you want to glue your fabric down some too, I think the best thing kind of glue would be a spray adhesive. Just take it outside, spray the back of the fabric, bring it in and plop it down, and then let it set up and dry. And then you could do your hand stitching around. You could do a split stitch or a running stitch all around your edge. Just come in a little bit from each side so that you're stitching through the fabric and the paper at the same time. You may have to perforate your paper, stick something in before you try to pull the thread through. It's all trial and error. So that's what I do. So let's just put let's pretend we're going to do the houses now. I'm not going to sew them right now because my voice is about shot. This is just little bits. So let's pull out some little bits. I'm going to turn this facing me just so I can see what I'm doing here. And so if you wanted to have a rough and ready house, when you have fabric, just do a little snip and then a rip. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, it's not going to work this time. So we'll just snip it off. All right, so there you have a house. So there's one house. And then, of course, everybody's houses are different. And if you want one house to look like it's farther away, you know what to do, right? You just make it smaller. Let's make a little brown house. We'll make this one bigger because the brown is darker. So say we could put a house here. That's not going anywhere now that I've got some stitches. So we could put this house forward. And then you could do a little path in some way. You could use anything you want to make your little path from one house to the other. Or if you don't want to have a path, you don't have to. You could do, just whatever you want. It's your house. Then we need to get some quirky little roofs. Let's see. There's no saying the roof has to be a big triangle. You could do whatever you want. I do like mine to hang off the edge a little bit. Let me see. I have more scraps. We might have to move to a bigger scrap box. Oh, hang on. Here's a piece of blue. I'm gonna fold this. Oh, that won't work because it'll go into the background. Hang on. All right, let's see. Let's fold this in half. Is that about half of the roof? A little bit more. And I'm going to cut a rounded roof on this one. There we go. And I've got this fabric here. If you wanted to, if you've had something that little figures, go ahead and cut them out and sew them on. Don't be afraid to play. I really like this. So there's a cool roof. How about that? So it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want a tree, we've got this piece of lace here. We'll cut a piece of this and we'll use it as the tree. Kind of slide it on behind the house a little bit, maybe. And then we need a green circle for the top. Let's see here. Digging through my bin. What's this here? Oh no, that's. I don't want to put Chris. Oh, look, we could make it a pineapple tree. I know they're not like this big, but I'm gonna just. I folded it. And I'm just gonna kind of cut a little circle of sorts. Doesn't even have to be a perfect circly shape. It can be an oval. It's meant to be a fun little house. See, it's a pineapple tree. Ooh, that's huge. Let's go a little smaller. Good news is you can just cut it smaller. Okay. Pineapple tree. Bam. So you just keep playing until you get something you like. You could use ribbon, lace, small squares. You could embroider windows. Let's get some of this here. This takes tiny little bits. So this could be a door. Put a door on here. And then I could use the other end of it and have a different door on the orange house. Cut it a little narrower. And see, I'm not measuring anything. Let's see here. Trying to find a narrow piece of lace. There we go. You could use this on your roof overhang. Just put a little bit of this up under that. Let's cut it to the same length. Just snip it. You can always tack the little bit of things like this. You know, just tack it. Do a running stitch and put those two pieces together. You know, if you do a quick running stitch on that and then do embroidery over it, nobody's going to see that. So that could be a house. You can add windows with more little squares of fabric. Let's see here. So I got just this little piece of silver right here. It's awful small to deal with, but you could put it on your door and it would look like the door has a window in it. You could stitch right over top of this to make it look like the frame on a window. And see, it could have some long windows. Hey, remember the long windows of the houses in the 80s? Had those long, narrow windows. Do the windows have to be the same length? No, it's a quirky house. So play. Let's do this in this one. Let's put a little peace sign on this one because that's what the world needs is some peace. Put that there. Maybe move the door over. And we'll stitch around that. So that's how you build your postcard up. Just adding little bits. I have some of this stuff. You could maybe pretend these are lights that run from one house to the next. If it was a little, yeah, see? Or, you know, have these on your house and just stitch that one down and let this come back up and then down and then back up. Or you could find a section of this that shows up better. Like there's the yellow ones. See if I took the strip off this trim. And we've got ribbon flowers and things like that. So, y'all, that's it. That's all I'm going to do today. I think I've been on. I think you get an idea of what to do. And it is slow stitching. So don't get discouraged with yourself if you feel like it's taking a long time. Just keep working at it steady, adding as much or as little as you want. And I will let you guys go and see you Wednesday. And thank you so much for coming and hanging with me for over an hour and a half. And I hope for those that want to do a completely hand-stitched one, you know, it's easy to do. Now, see, I've covered up a lot of my stitching in the background. I'm not worried about that. I might move some things around a little bit, but this is basically what I'm going to go for. And you all have a great evening. And I will see who comes on Monday night. Is it Lisa? Is Lisa coming on? Does anybody know? I don't know. I've lost all track of schedules with taking care of moms. Plural, moms. So y'all have a great night. Take care. Love y'all. Bye.